Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, hello. Mr. Smith, I'm a big supporter of energy. For me, energy security is national security. And of course, renewables about that, but of course other things as well too, fossil. But also that also includes nuclear. Of course, nuclear is important. And now then there's that kind of energy transition. My focus is also that I want to make sure that ratepayers in Pennsylvania really aren't hit too hard throughout all of this. Now, the Washington Post reported that increasing electricity demand for the data centers is going to raise up residential power bills, perhaps as much by 20%. Now, to me, that's really a concern for me and certainly for Pennsylvania families. Now, the data center, has important jobs during construction and doing those things, and that's a great thing, of course. But they're not, I guess, long-term. But the rate, those rates might last longer for that. And now I've been tracking the plan to reopen TMI. I mean, I had my own personal story is I had to grab my hamster and evacuate, during the meltdown in 1979. You might assume that I was anti-nuclear, and that is not. I actually am very supportive of nuclear because that's an important part of the stack. If you really want to have and address climate change, you can't turn your back on nuclear, in my opinion. But I know that's the power of Microsoft's data center. So now, and I really appreciate that, but if I'm saying now, if we're able to commit that the power purchase agreement, it's not going to raise electricity for Pennsylvania families.
No, I think you raise a critical point. We have two principles that we follow when we're constructing these data centers. Number one, we will invest to bring onto the grid an amount of electricity that equals the amount of electricity that we will use, so that we're not tapping a constricted supply. Number two, we will manage all of this in a way that ensures that our activity does not raise the price of electricity to the community. And so I was describing earlier how if there's improvements that need to be made to the grid, as there often are, we'll go to the Utility Commission. We will propose a change in the rate that we are charged so that we can pay for that improvement. I just think it's a fact of life because I think you highlight something critical. There's a lot of jobs when the construction takes place. There are jobs afterwards, but they are not as many. One will wear out the welcome quickly if we tax, in effect, the neighborhood by asking everyone to pay more for their electricity because we have arrived. We get it. We know we have to be a good and responsible member of the neighborhood.
Thank you. Well, now, one of the perks of being a senator is that, for me anyway, I get an opportunity to meet people that have led much more impressive kinds of jobs or careers that I've led. And now, Mr. Altman, now this is I'm gonna count this as a highlight recently. I know the work that you've done, and you're really one of the people that are moving AI. And now it's an opportunity. I was excited to meet you. And now people ask me, it's like if you're gonna talk about AI, and now I get to ask you, like the expert. Some people are worried about AI or whatever, and I'm like, what about the singularity? So, the people like that, if you would address that, please.
Thank you, Senator, for the kind words and for normalizing hoodies in more spaces. I'd love to see that. I am incredibly excited about the rate of progress, but I also am cautious and I would say I don't know, I feel small next to it or something. I think this is beyond something that we all fully yet understand where it's going to go. This is, I believe, among the biggest, maybe it'll turn out to be the biggest technological revolutions humanity will have ever produced. And I feel privileged to be here. I feel curious and interested in what's going to happen. But I do think things are going to change quite substantially. I think humans have a wonderful ability to adapt, and things that seem amazing will become the new normal very quickly. We will figure out how to use these tools to just do things we could never do before. And I think it will be quite extraordinary. But these are going to be tools that are capable of things that we can't quite wrap our heads around. And some people call that, you know, as these tools start helping us to create future iterations, some people call that singularity, some people call that the takeoff, whatever it is, it feels like a sort of new era of human history. And I think it's tremendously exciting that we get to live through that and we can make it a wonderful thing. But we've got to approach it with humility and some caution.
No, I mean, I just, for me, it's been, I get a chance to ask questions to a lot of Edisons, you know, as well too. Like the kinds of things that you're all collectively involved are going to transform our society, and people will look back 50, 60 years ago and see what's happened. So for me, over to the chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, hello, welcome. Hi, everybody. So 100 Amtrak trains run through Pennsylvania every day, including maybe 100 feet just away from where I live in Braddock, Pennsylvania. So, serving almost 7 million total passengers in my state. I don't see passenger rail as a political issue. I mean, you know, everybody ride that, red, blue. This is about getting people where they need to be. As a member of this committee, I will always fight to support and defend vital federal service, and I'm made very clear that I'll work with anyone as long as they're willing to do that. Since being sworn into the Senate, I've been working to expand passenger rail service through it across communities across Pennsylvania. One of the projects I'm pushing and want to expand was passenger rail to Reading, Pennsylvania. So, Mr. Gleason, you made clear in your testimony that you understand the importance of passenger rail for both big cities and small towns in our state of Pennsylvania. Can you commit to working with my office and the Schuylkill River Passenger Rail Authority to get this service operational by 2029?
Absolutely. I've talked to those people in Reading for years. They're just like Johnstown. We lost our trains. We have 2 trains a day. We need more train service, and I appreciate your support for passenger rail. And I understand the whole Schuylkill thing needs to be supported, absolutely.
Does anyone else have anything? So now we feel like sometimes it might feel like it's under siege right now. I mean, is that accurate? Or like, do you feel better after the new administration, or like what do you think?
You mean about passenger rail?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel good about it. I feel very good about it. I think that there seems to be a lot of support amongst the senators and a lot of people I've talked to. Younger people want to ride the rail now. The ridership of Amtrak is younger, and more people are looking forward to riding trains. So the support of the Senate is very important as we try to expand the passenger rail. And Pennsylvania, outside the Philadelphia area, needs a lot more support. So I'm looking forward to working with you for this support.
Okay, so now let's talk about safety. You know, over 2 years ago, of course, we were aware of what happened in East Palestine in Ohio, just very close to our border. My colleagues and I immediately got together and wrote the Railway Safety Act. The bill made sure tragedies like this doesn't happen again. That was a strong bill, very, very bipartisan. The vice president was one of the leads on it, and President Trump now said he supports it. In fact, it might be the only thing that Trump, Vance, and Biden, we can all agree on many of these things. But now it's stalled, and I truly don't understand why that's the case. I mean, I think we should all be on the same and be rowing in the same direction. And now, I mean, I live 100 feet away from an active rail. So I don't know why we want to prevent all these kinds of derailments. So, Mr. Fink, can you commit to helping to get this across the line? So, because all of America deserves this. And this was always being a very, very bipartisan piece of legislation.
Thank you for the question, Senator. We met with your staff last week, and the issues that you talked about with Mr. Gleason were also discussed with me. So I heard that and look forward to working on those issues. As far as legislation, my job is the person that executes the laws that you pass. So I'm the FRA administrator. If you pass the law, we are going to make sure that those laws are properly carried out. That's what I'm looking forward to. Right now, I'm waiting for folks to talk to me about the specific legislation, talking with the FRA safety people. Once you pass it, we will enforce it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should all agree. I truly, and I ask even my friends on both sides, like, we're not really sure why we still don't have that passed. But regardless, thank you all for your time.
If you could just read this to close out the hearing.
Mr. Fink, Mr. Fogel, Mr. Jensen, and Mr. Gleason, my final question is required of all nominees. If confirmed, do you pledge to work collaboratively with the committee to provide through the timely responses to the committee's request and to appear before the committee when requested?
Yes, Senator.
Yes, Senator.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. I have letters of support from various organizations for Mr. Fink's, Mr. Jensen's nominations that I ask unanimous consent to be inserted into the hearing record. Without objection, so ordered. Senators will have until close of business on Thursday, May 15th, to submit questions for the record. The nominee will still close till the business of May 19th to respond to all of those questions. That concludes today's hearing. The committee stands adjourned.
Thank you. Senator Fetterman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, everybody. And now, I think it really needs to be said more. Flying in America is incredibly safe. It's incredibly safe. I mean, I think most of my colleagues, many of them, I spend maybe 46, 47 weeks out of 52 flying in that. I was actually, my plane was in that airspace about half an hour or so earlier before that tragedy in DCA. Now that was really the first accident in, I guess, quite a while. So I really want to remind people that it's still incredibly safe. And I refuse to play in the blame, it's his guy, that's problem, it's this, that, other thing. So I just really want to make sure we can agree that's very bipartisan. We want to have, make flying safer, but not turning it into like a finger pointing thing. So for me now, now we've constantly heard there's a lot of shortage of air traffic controllers. And we know sometimes it might be difficult for the FAA to meet their staffing goals. Now, we have what I would describe the Harvard of air traffic control schools in Beaver County in my state, which plays a huge role in training the next generation of the air traffic controllers. So, Mr. McIntosh, can you speak to the importance of training schools like the ones that I addressed in the air traffic controller shortage?
I believe to your question, Senator, and thank you for the affirmation that it's still safe to fly. It is extremely safe to fly. Thank you for that. In regards to schools that offer programs to be an air traffic controller, 100% agree that these schools are essential for our continued pipeline. So whether it's a collegiate training initiative that you're speaking to or the enhanced collegiate training initiative, if this offers additional people into our training pipeline, that's pivotal for us to increase our candidate pool, as well as ensuring that we have enough controllers.
Yeah. So are you able to commit to, well, again, you're going to support these kinds of programs? It makes a lot of sense, right? Obviously.
We support the collegiate training initiative and the enhanced one as well. Yes, Senator.
Okay. So essential air service is a lifeline in Pennsylvania, and it brings smaller communities that otherwise wouldn't have those kinds of things. Now, in my state, we have places like Altoona, Johnstown, or Lancaster, and I'm not sure why we would have any kind of budget cuts that might impact this kinds of a program, or maybe up to 50%. Mr. Hybeck, are we able to just make that point to the administration, just how important that is to make these very smart investments, in my opinion, into these small airports? Because, again, ironically, it's not about politics, but all of those three communities that I referenced, all in red counties. So that, to me, flying should be safer, and it's bipartisan. So it's honestly, like, I think these kinds of investments are just smart, and that's economic development. And that, so if you want to address, but that might be possible for those cuts.
Yes, Senator Fetterman, as a fellow Pennsylvanian, I share your interest in the small and rural airports in Pennsylvania. We in airports do invest significant or make significant investments in small airports through our small airport fund and other grant programs. The Essential Air Service program is administered by the Department of Transportation, and I'm happy to take your message back to our colleagues.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, I had the pleasure of meeting with the head of the Lancaster Airport. And now it's like they really want to make these kinds of upgrades, and I fully support that. I grew up in York, so I know how close that area. That's an incredible amenity. So for me, it's not about. It's really just about serving all the Pennsylvanians and have access to air travel. So, but otherwise, no. Thank you, and I see that back to the chair. Thank you all, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Fetterman.
Thank you. Secretary, hi, hello.
Hi, Senator.
As you may know, I'm from Pennsylvania, and I occupy perhaps a unique position. I've been very, very, very pro-immigration, but I early identified the serious problem about the border, the security. And I've said this publicly, I'll say it now, that my party failed to secure our border. And we deserve to pay a political price for that. And I've been trying to find a way forward to move forward on those things. I voted for you, not because you and I agree on a lot of political things and we're in different parties, but you're the secretary and I'm a member of this committee, so I believe we have to find a way to work forward together. And I'm not here for fireworks or to try to create something to be clipped on TV. I'm honestly coming, asking for your help about a situation here. So now, I have a constituent. His name's Ramin, and he's an Afghani who served alongside our service members there in the war. He is a resident of Philadelphia. Now, he's a surgeon, and he saved American lives. And now he is waiting to be approved like a green card. And now he helped evacuate our forces through an airlift. Now, and his two brothers, and of course we can't name them due to their concerns, but they're trapped in Pakistan. And the risk for removal for Afghanistan, and they face torture and death because of their commitment for a free and democratic Afghanistan. They've saved American lives, and they have defended our forces in there. And now here, that's part of my concern right now. And if looking for help, honestly, and that's one of the reasons why I voted for you, because we want to try to find a way, because not all immigration is just about securing our border, we know, but it's about helping people that deserve to come to our nation after serving in such an amazing, great risk, or that is now. So there was the president's executive order suspending refugee resettlement now, but again, they kind of got caught up in the middle of that. And I'm not here looking for the theater. I'm just here to come because I believe they deserve to be here for the sacrifices and what they've put at risk. And I'm asking if we're able to get some kind of, working with my office, please, to find a way to bring these Afghani heroes that saved American lives during that war, because things may got caught up in these executive orders. So that's really all I'm asking today.
Yeah, Senator, we will certainly work with your office on those specific cases. We have 8,000 individuals that have been granted asylum since President Trump has been in office, looking at cases much like you have. And these individuals that are here that may have been on a different program like TPS that is no longer going to be in place in a couple of months, we have the opportunity to work with them to get them qualified. Many of the concerns with some of these countries, when you're talking about interacting with them and giving them status and green cards here in the United States is the ability to vet them. And it sounds like the individuals that you know have been thoroughly vetted and in partnership with the United States. And so that is something that we'll look at and we'll certainly work with you on, recognizing their service to our country.
Yeah, I would be profoundly grateful if my office can work with your team and perhaps even in with state as well too. So that's all this is about too.
Yep.
You know, it's a political truth that we have to find a way to work together because there are truth and it is not owned by one side or the other. So I look forward to finding a solution here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yield.
Senator.
Senator Moreno.
Secretary Noem, thank you for being here. Thank you for your work.
Fetterman.
Thank you. Good morning, gentlemen. Yes. So now I know this isn't your purview, and I'm not going to just go on in a rant, but this is the last opportunity that I would have to say as a member of this committee that I've been very troubled that now it's very clear that they are going to try to cut SNAP. And now for me, it's always been a very passion of mine, and one of the reasons why I was so excited to be on this committee. And now that vote's coming, so this is my last opportunity to say that as in a minority situation, we may not have the vote to prevent those kind of a thing, but that doesn't mean I could ever support these kinds of cuts. And Mr. Hoskin, the Local Food Purchase Assistance Cooperative Agreement Program, LFPA, was successfully doing all of those things to create and promote small local food system viability. And according to 1,433 farmers in the organizations, including 31 in PA, LFPA generated $747 million in economic activity in rural communities. And I ask the chair, with unanimous consent, that their letter be entered into the record.
Without objection.
Okay, thank you. Sir, do you agree that the USDA has the authority to promote market access for small farms?
Well, thank you for the question, Senator, and I appreciated the time and conversation with your staff in your office the other week. Your staff raised this very issue and a number of other priorities you're focused on behalf of Pennsylvania agriculture. Yes, I do think AMS, through congressional codification and different laws this committee and the Congress has passed, including the 18 Farm Bill, has a number of programs and authorities to facilitate local food purchasing and promotion.
No, and again, yes, I'd also like to be clear. I actually voted for Secretary Rollins. I mean, for me, agriculture, I mean, red, blue, conservative, liberal, everybody eats, and we all count on our agriculture thing. So now for me, it's not about politics. It's about feeding people and supporting farming, and that's our largest industry in my state. And so, do you agree that the beneficial for states like mine to be able to directly address their local food systems?
So, thank you for the question, Senator. My awareness on some of the authorities and programs under the Agricultural Marketing Service is that this committee in Congress has given that agency purview and mandate to facilitate some of those programs and purchases and facilitate the resiliency of the local food system. So if I'm understanding, and I'm not trying to be evasive, but to be responsive, if I were confirmed, I would commit.
I'm not suggesting you are, sir. I'm not suggesting you are.
I would commit to ensuring AMS met its congressional mandate under those programs.
Okay. All right. Yield.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Senator Fetterman. And next up, Senator Moran.
Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know it's like we all know what happened. administration, and they have a much different kind of a view on immigration and the border. And I actually agree with parts of it. Honestly, I've said this publicly, and I'll say this again. I believe our party they didn't do a good job with the border, and I was very clear on that. And then also, I'd like to say that I was the lead co-sponsor of the Lincoln bill there as well too. I believe that that we can be very pro-immigration, but we also have to have a very secure border, and that puts me in a different place now. Some people didn't feel like I honored the spirit of immigration, but I actually believe that I did. And now today I'm going to continue that part of my conversation and my commitment, and that is with DACA. Okay, now we can all agree with that. Now for me, my wife was a former dreamer. My wife was a former dreamer, and now I wouldn't have the family that I have, if it wasn't for her. But she was brought to the country when she was 7 years old, and of course, and now I know, Mr. Law, I know we all have LexisNexis, and we all know, and I know that you don't have a strong opinion for Dreamers and DACA. So I'm not going to turn it into gotcha theater, because I really want to have like a sincere conversation here in our brief time we're here. And now, for example, I'm trying to understand why punishing Dreamers that were brought here as children here in this country now, why there's not a path for citizenship, why when they're making these kinds of important contributions here to our nation. And it's like, can we only just be punitive and vengeful about immigration? Why we can't even acknowledge that that could be part of something very a positive thing for our nation?
Thank you for the question, Senator. Thank you for your support of border security, as well as the Lincoln-Riley Act. And I'd also like to thank you for a leading role in combating anti-Semitism that has just exploded in recent times. To the specific question of illegal aliens receiving a path to citizenship, that is solely the purview of Congress. The most notable legislative opportunity that I'm familiar with is known as the DREAM Act. And it's my understanding that that bill has gone before the Congress numerous times, and every single time it has failed.
But personally, any of you in front of us here today, do any of you perhaps could consider or maybe support something like that legislative solution for Dreamers?
Well, thank you for the question, Senator. I think it is the purview of the lawmakers to pass legislation and present those to the president. And thus far, it's been my understanding that that bill has failed to, obtain the votes necessary to make it to the White House.
Okay. So for me, because it just continually just seems to like it's difficult to two things must be true: a secure border, but then now, and we also can celebrate immigration as well too. And now, for me, we had a young person in Georgia, Himena, and she was just pulled over, and it was actually the wrong car. And she of course, she was a dreamer, and now she could be looking at a possible situation of being deported for that. She was brought here as a young child. I'm not really sure it's American to punish a person who is living her best life and making significant contributions to our nation to be punished for a decision for a parent when they were 5, 6, 7, 8 years at that point. And I don't believe that it's an American way to just put them in like a permanent kinds of purgatory, where always worrying about looking over their shoulder that now the next single time that they could be deported, they are being paid for sins that they were not a part of that thing. And I'm hopeful, and I'm saying it now publicly today again, somebody as a Democrat committed to a secure border, why can't we deliver a solution for our dreamers? Because immigration is part of America's superpower, and it's made us much stronger and better. And two things must be true at the same time. And now, thank you, my time has expired, and thank you for answering my questions.
Senator Fetterman, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Doctor, thank you so much for reminding, for me and maybe for others, about what happened in New Orleans. I mean, I think some people even forgot about that if I did. And my recollection, the weapon was a truck, right? Yeah. So my first question is directed to you for that, and since you as an expert, what are some of the threats that face the U.S. and these sporting events that your team has identified of? What keeps you up at night? What is the number one thing that the federal government has to do to mitigate these kinds of threats?
And reminding us all about New Orleans. I think for me, we've identified 5 threats that we are most credible because of their ideology and past use of wanting to attack these kinds of spaces. They range from international actors, state-sponsored actors, all the way to domestic actors. What keeps me up at night is the idea that because we sometimes get fixated on what's happened in the past and international actors, we might not fully embrace the heterogeneity of the threat that's coming. And so for us to be able to support with expertise of people who think about this all the time, and because the people who are planning these events have so many things to do right now. And so I think for you all to be able to support these public-private partnerships where universities can be part of this. You have professors like myself and students like myself who are thinking about each of these actors very deeply in a way that someone who's planning an event may not be able to. Thank you.
We would like to open up that question to other members as well. I mean, you have a big job as well. Like what keeps you up at night?
You know, Senator, I'll just start by saying, you know, I spent nearly 15 years as a bomb technician in the Army, so there's not a whole lot that gets me nervous. But I think, you know, the asymmetric threats that, you know, were just talked about is a concern. But, you know, from my perspective as the OCOG leading the organization, when I think about the magnitude of bringing 15 million people into Southern California, Oklahoma City, and across the nation as we hit all 50 states in our torch relay, and the logistics that goes with that, and the security planning and the security apparatus that is behind all of those are the things that really, I think, are top of mind for me that I will say keep me up at night. It is really thinking about and trying to orchestrate and coordinate the magnitude of the undertaking.
Senator, if I could just add, in addition to actually making it safe and secure, it's important that the travelers perceive its safety and secure, and they can trust and rely on that and want to come to this country.
Okay. And I see you. Back to the chair.
Can do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I could not agree more with what you've just said. And thank you for all the witnesses. Thank you for joining us here today. And I'm pleased to be the ranking member of this subcommittee, and I am absolutely looking forward to, with Chairman Lankford, to solve these issues that we're facing the United States. It's a great honor for the United States to host premier international sporting events like the FIFA World Cup in 2028, the Olympics in Los Angeles, not to mention celebrating America's the big 250 birthday and hosting the MLB All-Star Game in Philly next summer. It's an incredible opportunity to showcase the best of America to our international visitors and to create a shared national pride among all Americans. I know Giselle, my wife, and the kids are going to be absolutely there cheering for Team Brazil in Philadelphia at the World Cup. The events of this scale do not happen overnight. They take years of planning, resources, and coordination between organizers and state and local governments, private industry, and security partners. The federal government plays an important role in ensuring the safety of these events, providing financial resources, threat intelligence, and security personnel. What I am interested in hearing from our panel today is what security threats these events face and how we can needs to be done to make the decade of sports face and more successful. Mr. Chairman, I have statements from the American federal government employees and the National Treasury Employees Union discussing challenges that the TSA and the CBPE workforce will face during the decade of sports. I request to be entered into the record.
Without objection. I would also ask unanimous consent to add into the record the United States Travel Commission report on seamless and secure travel. Without objection, we'll also add that in. Let me introduce our three witnesses, and we will do that then. And then we'll go to Senator Hass, and then he'll come right back to me. I'll have some additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lieutenant General Hoover, the DHS designated the LA 28 Olympics as a national security special event, which means the Secret Service coordinates security for the event. What has it been like to coordinate security for something as big as the Olympics? Do you feel supported by the federal government? What more could we do for that?
Well, thank you, Senator. I think, as I mentioned at the outset, the Secret Service, especially in LA and at their headquarters level, has been an active participant since the NSSC was designated for the Olympics. The partnership has been incredible. They have a lead special agent in charge of the coordinating the overall event. We have 12 separate subcommittees that are working. Those subcommittees are composed with law enforcement representatives from the local, state, and federal level so that the coordination is there. I think one area that, that we are genuinely concerned about is to make sure that, our local and state partners and federal organizations that are involved in security receive 100% reimbursement for their services. It is not something unique to the LA Games. It was done in Atlanta in '96. It was done in 2002 at Salt Lake City. There is a mechanism to do that on the books. There is a 2013 NSSE grant that was put in place in 2013. I think the enabling grant is still there, but it hasn't been funded and the program hasn't been activated. And I think that's an area that the Senate could look at, and the Congress can look at, as to think about reactivating that grant program. It is a concern, I think, of all of our constituents and partners that are working on security, is to ensure that reimbursement it comes through.
And Mr. Kinder, I have a quick question for you. I have heard that the World Cup will be likely described as the day before Thanksgiving for 3 months straight. I've done that once, and I don't ever want to do that again. So do you feel like that's effective description? And do you feel that we have enough TSA and CP officers? Are there anything that we can do, anything better? What kind of concerns do you have for that?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. Certainly more officers is important. And I mentioned earlier that it takes roughly 18 months to deploy these officers. And so trying to do that as soon as possible is really important. But that's where technology to enable those officers to act more efficiently comes on board. So some of the things I mentioned, like biometric screening and enhanced baggage processing, makes the whole system work much more quickly. So Congress can support these efforts by allocating funding for the staffing increases, but also expediting some of those technology upgrades.
Okay, I see the back.
Senator Lujan.
Mr. Chairman, I would yield to Senator Duckworth, who was here before I was boss.
All right, although I will say, at least in the gavel rule, Senator Fetterman is next on the...
I'm fine with that too, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Senator Fetterman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And welcome. I think I'm going to say something again because I think it's absolutely true. It is incredibly, incredibly safe to fly in America. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that.
Yeah. And again, I think I'm an expert because I'm a consumer. I'm at the airport at least, I think, 48 out of 52 years of the year, maybe more sometimes. And I have a lot of skin in that game to affirm that. And I know a lot of that part of the conversation after that awful tragedy in DCA or earlier this year. but could you affirm, this, that it can be made safer? Anything can be made better. How do you see that, trying to balance that we can make it better, but also acknowledging that, I mean, it's a modern marvel, in how things working and things continue to be incredibly safe.
Thank you for the question, Senator Fetterman, and I hope I get a chance to come visit with you and have a more detailed conversation about this. Republic Airways has a huge maintenance base in Pittsburgh. I mean, so we've got routes that go way back to our Chautauqua days. I can tell you that the aviation system has multiple levels of redundancy, 3 levels of airspace management redundancy, and then the ultimate, final level of safety is in the cockpits with our nation's well-trained aviators. But we shouldn't have to lean into the 2nd or 3rd or 4th level of redundancy to keep the system moving. The system is old. It needs upgrading, massive upgrading. So we have to do better. We can do better. There's technologies that exist today, not theoretical development technologies, but stuff that's on the market today made by American manufacturers that they're selling abroad. And we can induct this technology here at home and establish not only a more cost-effective NAS, but a higher reliability and a safer NAS.
Thank you for that. So my job kind of collided yesterday. Homeland Security, and we were talking about the security about a lot of the international events that we're going to be hosting here in our nation. And then I brought this up, so I'm going to bring it up today because I think it's fairly appropriate. Philadelphia, in my state, of course, is hosting 6 World Cup matches in the next year, coming up to the weeks up until July 4th, which is also part of the big 250 birthday party for our nation. So millions and millions are coming across all around from the world, and then also for the 250 birthday. And now that's been described as the day before Thanksgiving for 3 months. Is that accurate?
The expectation within the industry is we're going to see significant volumes, not only through our airport terminals, but certainly on our aircraft.
Do we feel like we're going to have enough time and we can do more supportive to make sure that we staffed up and we do the kinds of appropriate changes to make sure that we're able to handle all that kinds of incredible volume?
Well, unfortunately, I think the challenge we're going to face accommodating all the demand that will be there is the fact that the airspace itself is holding us back. We're already oversaturated in terms of commercial demands on the system to the point where, as we saw Secretary Duffy's re-regulation of slots at Newark. So we're at a point now where the air traffic control system itself is holding back demand that Americans have to travel.
Thank you. And on my second question, and this is absolutely not a dig, it's actually just a sincere thing. In 2023, my former colleague, Congressman Cartwright, secured $3 million construction project at the Mount Pocono Airport, and it's 2025, and it's still, we haven't had that yet. And again, I'm not calling anybody on the spot here. It's really just a sincere place. And now I refer to him as my former because now it's represented by a Republican, a new friend and colleague there. And, it's an important part of the economic regional parts of that equation. And it's like, I would love to work together with you to really develop those kinds of resources because it's really, I think it's important.
I agree with you, and while I'm not an expert in that particular area of the FAA, I've been watching a lot of C-SPAN recently, and I've been watching a lot of hearings, and I've heard the acting administrator speak on that point. They know they need to get caught up, and I believe the agency's working diligently to do that.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Fetterman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, Dr. Jacobs. Hi. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I'm sure you're familiar with Lake Erie. I love Erie. Erie is a very special part of my state, and now for me, Lake Erie is such incredibly important economic engine and major cultural amenity for Pennsylvania. Tourism in Erie brings in over $1.2 billion and supports more than 15,000 jobs. And now for me, the tourism, it's driven because of the beauty. If anyone in the room's ever been to Presque Island, and it's one of the most remarkable parks in the country. And I'm not saying that as just a booster. I'm saying that it actually is true. And my family swims in Lake Erie, so we have a lot of skin in that game too. So protecting and making Erie more and more clean and pure. So for me, the NOAA's Office of National Marine Sanctuaries is working to designate Lake Erie as a national marine sanctuary. And of course, I fully support that, and know people that live in Erie support that. And today I was just asking to see if you support that or would like to commit or work with my office to see this happen quickly.
If confirmed, I'd love to work with you in your office on that.
Right, that's wonderful. And then now, some people, maybe my colleagues, may not be aware of lake effect snow. So I'm an amateur. So I would describe it as when colder air sweeps over warmer water of Lake Erie, and that can drop 3 feet of snow really in a short amount of time. Is that inaccurate?
Your science is correct.
Oh, yeah.
It's heat flux driven.
Yeah. So for me, and now if you live in Erie, 18 inches doesn't even make the news, really. Rarely. And that's I mean, I live in Pittsburgh. We don't even. It's so different. It's very, very specific to that region because of lake effect snow. And if you're from Arizona, you're like, have no idea what that means. but I remember there was one Christmas time that I think 55 inches dumped on Erie quickly in about 24 to 36 hours. So of course, NOAA is very important. So for me, and it's been brought to my attention that the National Weather Service that oversees Erie doesn't have a meteorologist. I believe that. So for me, even if it's like a part-time thing, I think it's reasonable when you can have 3 feet of snow from those things. So I'm just seeing perhaps I support having a meteorologist even part-time from a savings perspective for there. So just if you have any thoughts.
I don't know the exact staffing levels at your office, but I'll definitely get back to you on the numbers. And if confirmed, I'd definitely commit to making sure it's staffed up.
Yeah, great. That's great. And I yield. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Markey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Mr. Roberti. Is it fair to say that we had a warm, cordial, and productive meeting yesterday in my office?
Senator, yes, I really enjoyed meeting with you yesterday.
Yeah, I thoroughly did too. And yesterday we talked about my real issue is, and my commitment is that I wasn't here today to create theatrics, and I'm not looking for clipping or to make up on MSNBC or the thing. For me, I'm coming here because, and I know you are aware of a problem in my state, in a very specific county, and for me now. In a minority situation as a Democrat, I'm very confident that you'll have all the votes necessary to be confirmed. So for me, as a Democrat voting for nominees, for me, it's a statement saying we want to find a relationship. We want to work together to look for wins for my state, for a constituent, or really a win in Pennsylvania ultimately is a win for the country. And today, and I made a promise with you not to turn this into confrontation or anything. And so today, I'm here to discuss for folks. It's a pipeline, 105 miles long, with jet fuel across southern eastern Pennsylvania. And then essentially, there was everybody agrees that there was a leak, and I am part of it because I fly 50 out of 52 weeks. So we all need jet fuel, and we need to, it's not I'm not condemning anyone that produces jet fuel. It's really that the problem is that it actually got into someone's wells in Bucks County. And today, so I'm here today. I'm here. We have a constituent here from Upper Makefield, and her name is Christine, and she's here today. And now she has water that was contaminated by jet fuel, and she actually brought a sample here. Where we have, and now I'm not going to, it's like you can submit questions or you can submit testimony, and I am actually respectfully submitting this and encouraging you, anybody, to just smell it, because it honestly feels just straight up like fuel. I wouldn't want to put a flame around it, honestly. And for me, it's like I am really just welcoming, because I just want to work together, for a solution here. You're not responsible for any of this. You didn't participate in all of this stuff. You just have you be in a situation to actually work together to create that. So, I really would like to work with my friend and colleague, Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick, and we really are pushing to just, whether it's shutting it down or to do whatever necessary until we can figure out really what's happening. And now for me today, it's like, as I said in my office, is if you're able to extend a commitment to work together in my office, then I'm here today to extend a commitment to vote for you, because for me, it's about voting for you, is about desiring a relationship to find a solution for this landowner, but also for my state. Mr.
Thank you, Senator. From what I have read, not being in the agency, but that was a serious incident. It's under investigation. A notice of proposed safety order was issued. I think it followed with a corrective action order, or a consent order, and that matter remains under investigation. As I said to you yesterday in your office, if confirmed, I would like to go to the accident scene with you. I would like to visit that scene. While the investigation is pending, I do want to see investigations like that proceed in the most expeditious manner, so that we can get to the bottom of what happened and make those determinations as to the safety of that pipeline going forward. And that I commit to do.
Yeah, well, so, and again, now it's becoming more and more politically difficult or punishing to vote and to want to work with the other side. But today, you have extended your willingness to work together for a solution, and I'm to extend my the desire to want to vote and support your candidacy for this. So, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Senator Fetterman, I'm sorry. Senator Fetterman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Fordyce, I've read that you are a farmer.
Yes, Senator.
Yeah, and so then I would want to thank you for that. The more farms that I visit across, I am more and more convinced that that's a job it's too tough that I could ever do. People can walk to a grocery store and they forget where it came from and the efforts and the things and the work that got into just be able to walk in and just, like that thing. They really don't deserve the kind of credit that they do. So regardless, beyond that, if you've ever been to Pennsylvania, and if you did, that would make you a very lucky guy. But in Pennsylvania, some people don't realize that mushroom capital is right in Chester County in Pennsylvania. Were you aware?
So, Senator, I was not, but I do have a good friend. Is from Chester County, and he is currently the Deputy Administrator for Farm Programs at the Farm Service Agency.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's a great connection then. And now, like, a lot of people don't realize that, we really are the mushroom capital of the world. And now, for me, I've always been pushing, and because I really want to represent, it's very important industry in our state, pushing to mushrooms to be eligible to the crop insurance for that. And, I've introduced the Bipartisan Protecting Mushroom Farmers Act with my PA colleagues. And now, And, and unfortunately, that never really happened. I was disappointed that we were not able to use that authority to include mushrooms in crop insurance. So I would be grateful to maybe work together on this. And for me, I'm an advocate for an important industry, and I would love to see that included there. So really, I'd like to offer you for what your thoughts with that.
Well, Senator, it is interesting, and I am a big fan of mushrooms, all kinds actually, and I do know certainly that the federal crop insurance system insures a number of different crops, and I don't know what the number is. It's over 100. It's less than 200, I think. But certainly do cover a lot. So it's a lot, obviously our Title I commodities, the historic Title I commodities, but a lot of specialty crops. And I do know, we had a question just a little bit ago about RMA and the federal crop insurance program. And I do believe that they are, they're pretty responsive. When there is actually a need or there is a market, there's a process by which those products come to the marketplace. But I was actually, when I was the administrator, I actually sat in on a board meeting one afternoon, and there was a company that was talking about providing coverage for carrot seed. And so there's a policy for carrot seed. So it was interesting to watch the process happen. But certainly we can take a look at, is there an opportunity with RMA and crop insurance? The Farm Service Agency also has a crop insurance program called NAP, where a lot of times that can fill in the gaps of crops that are not covered by RMA at that time. So yes, let us take a look at that and see what we can do.
Okay, all right. See you back to the chair. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Opening statement. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all of our witnesses joining today. This sounds kind of a more obscure kind of a topic, but this is things that will have the effect of every single one of us. Every time we pass a law, federal agencies have to implement it. And usually that includes issuing regulations and creating a process that makes sure that those laws are followed. Sometimes the agency gets a little too excited or goes a little too far, and sometimes they don't go far enough. And that's where the courts are added to this conversations. Last year's decision, Looper Bright, changed the way the courts have been treating federal agency decision-making for the last 40 years. That is a huge change, and we're going to need to figure out how we all have to adjust. When we got too tied up in DC speak about this stuff, people tune out. But how we have to respond, this change could be the difference between whether the water that we drink is clean or the cars that we drive are safe and the air we breathe won't make us sick. We need to remember this is really about making sure that we are explaining to these folks trying to make it work on time, provide for their families, and save for retirement. The only answer we really need to get to here is how does this change things, and what do we need now change as a result? I look forward to hearing to our witnesses. Yeah, my question is actually for all of you. Congress doesn't write perfect bills. We avoid detail to keep majorities. We need to pass bills. Sometimes we think we're being clear and we're not. We are also can't see the future, and our decisions likely are going to have some unintended consequences. What are the courts and agencies going to do now that they have to determine best reading, and now what the Congress needs to do in order to be ready to react in those situations?
So, Senator, I can start answering that question. So, at least from the judicial perspective, courts have been instructed from the Supreme Court now to use really every tool in the interpretive toolbox to come down to give a statute its best reading. And this is familiar to the judicial task in non-administrative law areas of the law as well, like, I don't know, like a criminal statute, for example. There is no agency for the court to kind of throw up its hands and defer to what the agency view is. So the court has to come to a meaning of the law there. And post-Loper Bright, courts are under instruction to do the same thing in the administrative law context. So using statutory canons, precedent, dictionaries, what have you, coming to what the court's own independent judgment is about what the best meaning of the law.
Does any of you have a response?
I think agencies too, obviously will have to do that. And research by Chris Walker at Michigan Law found that they already are, they're relying less on Chevron, the assumption that they'll get Chevron deference, and working harder to interpret the best interpretation. So maybe getting back to what Representative Schwartz was saying, the iteration and the back and forth, the communication between the executive and the legislative branch could help there.
I would just ask that, I would just again reiterate the fact that it's Congress that actually makes these decisions ultimately. So coming back to Congress if they need to, is one possibility. But again, making sure that you have the expertise and they have the expertise. It does not help to have hollowed out so much of the expertise in these agencies. How can you rely on them if there's no one there to pick up the phone, so to speak, which is happening. You know that, you see it. We expect more cuts to happen. And I think that's a real problem to invest. We invest a lot of confidence in the agencies, and we always had. And some are civil servants who serve Republicans and Democratic administrations. They know this field. But again, if they have questions, or you do, in terms of the regulation, there are comment periods. I think we don't actually use that comment period very well. We actually leave that to the outside interest groups and representatives and individuals to write in, but doesn't mean that Congress can't also say, we didn't quite mean this, I suppose, and really try and articulate that better. So I think there are opportunities that exist. But again, making sure that you have the expertise to be able to respond, and making sure that there are experts in the agencies who you can rely on, and because you want to do their jobs completely. The other, as I would say, is again, don't use reauthorization the way we could. We sometimes wait on reauthorization for years, or we just continue to say, okay, we don't have time, just let it go. I have one big one coming up. MACRA expires at the end of the year. Is there a real discussion we know should be going on about changes that can be made to enhance that legislation? There's a lot of bipartisan interest in it working, but it really, to just let it go another year or 2 or 3 could actually undermine a really important effort that's been passed by Congress. But it needs time and effort to actually get into what should change and what could improve that law. So I would use the reauthorization process and also ask for, we talked about this, a possible review of how a law has been implemented. What's the data? What's the evidence? What is it doing what we want it to? And you can do that. You can find out, are people healthier as a result of what we did, or are they worse off? Are they spending more money as consumers, or they're not? Is in fact the air cleaner because we've getting rid of our efforts to do clean energy? Are we happy with what's happening? Is that working for us or for you and for the American people? That's something you could call on in law to say, I want to report back in a year or 2, even before reauthorization, to be, how is this working? And how could we improve it if we need to?
I appreciate that very much.